recording this, and then let's also put this on Facebook Live.
At the end of the day, the challenge is to put away a lot of things rather than get a few things in.
Yes.
Get rid of the baggage that you collect during the course of day.
Absolutely. And there is so much of it and too much of it.
I know. Too much floating around. Yes.
Too much floating around. That's where I think I wanted to begin this entire thing with such a basic and elementary question.
Yeah.
That what is our individual status at, I would say, at the confusion level, how confused all of us are right now? Because I am sure people are confused. I see so many circulars floating around on a daily basis or hourly basis, I would say.
Hourly basis. Yeah, that's better. That's true.
Okay. So I will just, for the semantics purpose. Cool. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Good to have you all. Always a pleasure hosting, I should say, a lot of familiar friends and a lot of, I would say, if at all there are new, welcome. Good to have you all. So, given the backdrop of this series, let me quickly outline how we're going to do this so that for the benefit of all who are joining us for the first time, this is, I would say, a little more simplified to understand. So we kickstarted from the very, I think from the last week, the session or a series which is involving actually the top 10 priorities of the leaders or part of IPN to come and share what as a leader, and I'm sure this is little counterproductive to ask at the juncture right now, because there are a lot of uncertainty. I was discussing the same with my fellow panelists, I mean, before we all joined in, that if we have to begin asking ourselves, where are we as a school or a school leader standing at this point in time? What is the status quo? And I'm sure one word which sums it up beautifully is that we are in a way confused in a lot of ways. There's a lot of confusion for sure. And I thought just to simplify that confusion process, let's begin by asking, and I said, I'm completely keeping it very, very voluntarily based. If you want to share with us, which is open to all of you, because we have members who are joining us from across the country. So I would love to hear from you before we dive into the conversation which we have with our esteemed panel today. Obviously, I'll go and introduce them to you as well. But having said this, I would love to hear from people who want to share with us, what is the status you are at currently, given there's a vaccine rollout also happening, and a lot of things which are happening, which, you know, I mean, we keep getting these lot of circulars, and I'm sure they are only adding to the confusion, nothing more to me, right? So I would love to have a quick show of hand. You can come and share that view with us, and we will help you unmute, and then you can share that thought process of yours. Okay, that's the way I want to do it right now. And obviously then we'll dive into our main conversation for today, which is, so just to tell you about that as well, we have 5 very distinguished leaders from the Western zone. We kept it from the Western zone. This time we did the Northern zone in our first session. This is our second session of this entire series, which we will conclude on the 30th of January, right? So I see people are joining in, and I would like to begin with that fundamental question: where are we, or where are you? Am I? Because I say, as a father or as a parent who want to send their kids to the schools, I'm confused. I'm not really sure of what to be done. Okay, so anyone who would like to take that first question for me? And you'll have to give me a virtual show of hand or so that I can help you unmute and then you can answer that for me. Yeah. We are obviously now at 5 o'clock as well. Okay, Chitakala ji. Yes. Okay. Rakesh, Ajesh ji. Chaliye. Yes.
Good evening, Gaurava, and good evening to everyone. I was just waiting. Somebody would start. Nobody started. So I thought, let me at least start it. We in Chennai have decided that we'll be opening the schools from the 19th of this month.
Okay.
And we've been having a series of meetings with the CBSE people as well as with the Department of Health and Education with Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
A lot of protocols have been worked out and we are setting it up in schools.
Okay.
Beyond this, we have had a couple of meetings with the parents as well.
Okay.
And we have rolled out declaration forms to them.
Okay.
But as you said, as school, as parents, all are in a very fluid state.
Correct.
They are not very clear because they don't know what will happen next.
True.
But as schools, we are trying our level best to kind of formulate things and educate people inside the premises and outside. But again, parents' apprehension is after a really long time, our children are going to come back to school. How will you promise that they will be following social distancing? And
Correct.
how do you say that they will be following all the protocols?
True.
So for this, nobody has an answer because children, are children again. We cannot insist them to do things, but we can advise them. We can do certain things, but yes, we do have a big question mark on top of our heads. Let's wait and watch, but touch wood, praying to God, nothing should happen wrong. We are all going to start like warriors after, I don't call it as a success. We have not come out yet, but still we can, if and every one of us follow certain norms, yes, we can come out of it. That's what is my idea.
No, so firstly, my thank you for being the first one to take that on yourself. And which grades are you opening with?
We are just opening for the grade 10 and 12, only the board exam classes.
9 to 10.
Okay.
I'll take that, Gaurav. Chitkala, it will be, I say it will be a show of what parents have taught the children over the past year. Because social distancing, by now it was hoped the idea of lockdown and this prolonged period of keeping children away from school, the idea was that children get used to COVID, if not, immune to it. So probably, it will be a reflection of how well it has been ingrained and internalized in them. As you said, children will be children. So, well, that's the challenge for us.
Yes.
Correct. Ajeshji, you were saying something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, as I went in MP, the government has given clear-cut guidelines for 9 to 12.
Okay.
But again, there is a but of consent by the parents.
Okay.
So we have opened the school and especially we are having physical classes, but it is again voluntary. The percentage of attendance is around 35 to 40% from 9 to 12.
Okay.
And up till rather junior classes up till 8th class, the government has not permitted up till March 31st.
Okay.
So we are continuing with 9 to 12.
Okay, fantastic. That's what I really wanted. Yes. So I got a perspective from Chennai, which is Tamil Nadu, and I got a perspective from Madhya Pradesh. And that's the beauty of being on a platform like this. Fantastic. Anyone else would like to add? Induji? Yes, Induji would like to add a Punjab dimension to it.
We started with the pre-boards from 11th of January.
Okay.
It's Monday.
Okay.
And in class 10th and 12th, leaving out non-medical some non-medical students around 9, we have 100% attendance. Only non-medical students, they submitted their medical certificates. We told them no more online examination. We made 11 children sit, whereas the capacity of each room is 40. So in each room, we made one child is sitting on one bench. So almost 52 rooms have been occupied only with class 10th and 12th. It's so far very successful. They've been wearing their masks and we keep surplus masks in case any child forgets. So there's no panic.
True.
So we're maintaining these as standard operating procedures. We're following. There shouldn't be an issue. In fact, 3 LKG students have been left with us. Every day parents are dropping them because we are not giving conveyance these days, because mothers are parents, both the parents are doctors.
Okay.
So they're like, enough of their supervision by nanny at home or servant. They don't have grandparents around. So we're very happy to have those little, out of 200 Montessori children, 3 are in the school. So we're very happy.
Fantastic. So just for the benefit of all, Induji is from Patiala.
Yeah, Bhupendra International Public School, Patiala.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Induji, for sharing the status with us as well. And anyone else who would like to share at your level?
Excuse me, sir. I would like to share.
Please, go ahead, ma'am.
Sir, I am Deepti Purian. I am from Arvachi in India School for Holistic Learning, MP. We had started our, yes, sir. We had started our school from 2nd of January. And so far, we are very, very successful in that. And we have started with 9th, 10th, and 11th.
Okay.
11th is a very small lot. Like we have only around 50 students. And we ourselves have been trained, and our driver, conductor, even the boys, those who are here.
Yeah, Deepti.
I think, yeah, we lost
you.
her.
We had drill. Those students, like somebody else was also telling here, those who have been not learned anything from the past, like we had to train them. It was our duty to train, and even the teachers also have taken up the responsibility. Like they also won't be sitting together or been talking together. Only the academic part is going on. So we are, by God's grace, everything is going fine, sir.
Fantastic.
And I feel very happy to share my feeling with everybody here.
But Gaurav, very interesting to see how India is a land of diversity. One corona and so many different rules, regulations, and responses.
No, which is why this question.
Yearly exams, like we are being even say here also the same thing is happening. We have accommodated only around 18 students in a class, and they are sitting in separate benches. We don't allow them to share their lunch box or anything like that. And proper sanitization and everything is going on very, very properly. And we are even going to the washrooms also. We have 2-3 washrooms. So according to that, we have divided the students also. And the time is also allotted to them. Since being with grown-up students, they are okay with. Till now, everything is fine, sir.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea. I mean, as I said in the beginning, maybe this is a very elementary question, but trust me, this is a very fundamental when the core question at this point in time. I can see, and I'm just calling out, I can see Jyoti ji. Jyoti ji, where are you based out from? And then I come to Deep Khareji. Deep Khareji, what is happening in Jammu as well? I would love to hear from you.
Yes. I'll share my thoughts. Don't worry.
Okay, Jyoti ji.
Yeah, I am from Nashik, Maharashtra.
Okay.
We last week had given out the consent letters. Maximum of them have agreed to join in, and they have joined. Like the previous 2 speakers said, that we are making them sit one on a bench. Even I have only 9th and 10th. I do not have 11th and 12th.
Okay.
So 10th are coming, and I have engaged about 20 classes for them. Okay. One bench. So then, all the protocols with masks, sanitizer, different tiffins, no touching each other.
Okay.
Teachers are also gone through all the COVID tests. All these preliminary rounds we have also done.
Okay.
And successfully going on. We have we don't have full school for 3 hours. We have begun with 3 hours. We'll increase. Let's see how well the most important part. I don't know what other principals say. But the kids are, it's a real pain for them to sit continuously for a long time, because I relaxed and every 15 minutes break lene ki aadat thi, but abhi like 20-30 minutes ka ek lecture unko thoda bhari pad raha hai. But then they missed it all these days. They're trying to make it. Teachers are also happy about it.
Okay, okay, okay.
Like Maharashtra.
Deepji.
Good evening, everyone. Sanjay sir, Ms. Sanjay sir, good to see you.
Yeah.
Long time.
Good to see you, Deep.
From Delhi to here, great. I and Sanjay sir belong to Ajmer in one way or the other, so we have all years old relationships, and that can't be ever forgotten in a way. Good to see you, sir. Wonderful. In Jammu, government has not allowed us to start school for 31st of January. So all schools are closed in one way or the other. But as like with the consent of parents, the schools are allowed to call children in pieces and groups basically. We finished a set of pre-boards, I will say quite successfully. The 10th class, more than 60% attendance was there in all exams. 12th class, 35 to 45% attendance were there in different examinations, which we finished in the beginning of December month. Now from February 1st, we plan again to call them to school, and pre-board 2 is scheduled from 6th of February. And then one more pre-board we are planning because exams are delayed now. That's how it is. But yes, small things like 26th January is coming, so some children wanted to come and prepare. So with the consent and proper sensitization and all that, things are going on. I fully agree that we have not started the normal schools. I heard a lot, but I really feel that, for example, if a class is divided into 2 sections, like a section is rather sitting in 2 classrooms, how are they being taught? I think it will be the biggest question. Like you have a 12th class A section with 40 kids. Now you make them sit in 12, 12 or 18 in one room. How are they being looked after? So it is something to be thought about, and I'm sure something must be done by all of you, but it looks very odd as such. So if we have bigger rooms, like in my school, if there are 5, 6 big rooms we have, so we thought of making them sit, if we at all have to run classes that way. The whole section sits together and we can take care of them. So this all will only be seen once the February comes in Jammu and Kashmir. Things are delayed. A lot of cold, very cold weather.
Correct.
In the news channel, we are touching record of 30 years. So that kind of things are happening. We are all very positive. Somehow we still feel what has happened in the last 9, 10 months. We can't say it was all means difficult, but we could do what we could have done otherwise also. To quite an extent, syllabuses are done, papers have been taken, or whatnot. But yes, for class 1 to 8, they've never seen the school in all these days, and we are still waiting when this all together takes place. I'm looking forward. What are the responses of the different states when the schools are being opened? When the say mass number like 300-400 kids are coming to school in each day, and if 50-20 days goes that way, I think we all will have great, outcomes, and I think we all will be able to do the same thing. My best wishes to each one of you. Kindly keep updating in the group that how your schools are continuing in the same procedure, so that we can encourage ourselves to get ready for all those things. I would like to add here, we too conducted NEET examination in the school, and one more exam was conducted for the state government of Jammu and Kashmir, or UT nowadays. So that was done very successfully. A lot of training, standardization has been done, marking, and all this taken care of for the asset now. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepji. Thank you. That gives me a perspective from the up north as well. Abhishek, I can see Abhishek from Kolkata. In fact, I think he's from Kharagpur. Abhishek, you there?
Yes. Hi. How are you?
Yes, Abhishek. How are you? How are things
good,
at your level?
And as Dr. Khare is saying, we are also waiting for the government to allow us.
Okay.
Sadly, no decision has been taken. And in fact, elections are around the corner, so they are being a little more circumspect. But we are well prepared and geared, because at any short notice, we can expect the government to allow. And actually, a lot of parents, especially the senior kids, they are requesting that if it could start as early as possible. Because the people who are losing out the most during these are the weaker students, not the brighter ones.
Correct.
Because their level of interest is not there, and parents, these are big kids, and without their self-interest, it is going to be very difficult for parents to, persuade them. So we are hoping, let's see when it reopens. But yes, for smaller kids, we cannot expect, and we should not, I think, as earlier speakers have also said, that there is very little possibility of them maintaining social distance, especially after such a long time. So certainly for them, we can wait. Let's see how things develop. But I think senior kids, especially 9 and above, certainly they can be controlled, and they understand the risk also. And we hope it starts, because education is being missed a lot by these kids.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's where we got the more or less the gist of this matter. And now it's 5:15. Let me quickly kickstart this today's session of ours. And thank you to all of you who shared your views. Just helps us feel a little more better, I would say, right? So having said this, quickly welcoming all my 5 esteemed panelists, speakers, distinguished guests, I would say, beginning with Mr. Sanjay Datta, and he is right up here on my screen. So good to have you, Sanjay ji.
Good evening.
Sanjay ji is at present with the Mewar group of institutions. In fact, they are having multiple educational initiatives there, and he is leading them at Mewar, in fact, in Rajasthan. Over to you. I will go to my next introduction quickly, which is Miss Kavita Sanghvi. Kavita, again, needs no introduction at IPN for that matter. She's a regular figure at IPN, and as I've been given to understand, that I need to say that she is the principal of CNM School and ND Parikh Pre-Primary School in Mumbai. Good to have you, Kavita. Always a pleasure having you with us.
Same here.
Kavita, obviously, as I said, is our second panelist for us today. I go to my newest guest. It is Mahira Goyal. I think Mahira been around for a while at IPN, but then interestingly, I was not really aware. But then when I got to know that she had a fantastic body of work behind her, so hence I thought of inviting her, and she's right here with us. Mahira, good to have you with us. And Mahira is the head of the primary school at the Fazlani, and the second part is too typical to pronounce, so I'm saying she's from the Fazlani school in Mumbai. That's it, right?
Thank you. Nice to see you, Mahira. Yeah, same here, Kavita.
Good to have you with us, Mahira. And I also have with me Kamaljeet Yadav ji. Kamaljeet ma'am is the principal at Subodh Public School in Jaipur. Good to have you with us, Kavita ji. Kavita ji is also, in fact, Kavita and Kamaljeet ji are also our impact leaders for this year as per our IPN Most Impactful Leaders series, which we did in December. Last but not the least, Dr. Geoffrey Fisher is right now quarantining. In fact, he's quarantined in Mumbai Trident Hotel, yet he is joining because he came back from London very recently, and I'm so thankful that he accepted my invite to be with us, and always pleasure meeting him and listening him, and we obviously have a great rivalry with them, which is because we have a cricketing rivalry, so we'll talk about that as well a little later about it. So having
then you'd like to know about the new strain.
Nice to hear that.
So thank you everyone who had joined in. We will kickstart the conversation. I will request Kavita to kickstart this, and obviously we will keep this conversational as usual. We will keep chipping in with your question and answers. However, for the benefit of keeping a structure in place, we'll first let all our speakers speak, deliberate, and then we'll take up a very extensive Q&A at the last. Over to you, Kavita, and let's kickstart this.
Yeah. So thank you so much for having me here. And when Gaurav spoke about the top 10 priorities, so what actually I feel is that it's very important that you have research, because research helps you to understand exactly how to go ahead. So we had conducted a research with our own students. So just give me a second when I start. So I hope my screen is seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So to understand exactly how we should be prepared and what our priorities should be for the upcoming year, we said, let's take a research of our students on standard 9 to 12 and understand exactly what they have been experiencing the entire 10 months at home. So we had around 615 responses from standard 9 to 12. Our 11th and 12th is less because we offer only science and commerce stream. And this is the question that we put across. My progress in learning can be adequately measured through online assessments. Now, assessments are very important because they play a crucial role in the entire teaching learning process. It gives you insights into a student's concept understanding, application, and skills, and it makes the students' teachers understand exactly what have they done with the teaching learning, what have the students performed, and where are my gaps. in this case, when they said my progress can be adequately measured, if you can notice out here, only about 44% of students said, yes, my learning can be adequately measured through online assessment. So if only 44 students felt yes, then what happened with the rest? Now, in this case here, when they said feedback given to me on the basis of online assessment has been helpful in improving my understanding and application of concepts taught. Now, we have been taking assessments from day one. It has been in terms of formative and summative projects, in terms of quizzes, in terms of presentations, in terms of summative evaluation, and every time teachers have given feedback. But they felt out here, the feedback given across, notice out here, only 47.1% of students have said that the feedback has helped me in improving my understanding and application. So what does it tell us once again? Where has the feedback been lost? The third question we put it across to, have the online assessments helped me or been beneficial to me in my endeavor to improve my academic performance? So continuously when I've been giving assessments, studying, have they helped me? And only 47.1% said, yes, it helped me to improve my academic performance. Now, most important, because this is something that's really been on everyone's mind. Everybody began with online assessments. People started with quizzes, with small presentations. Then they went on to summative, different platforms. Then we went on to 2 cameras to see that, the front and the back, what students are writing. We had each teacher invigilating more than about only 10 or 15 students. So we thought we had been doing a fantastic job. We put this question and said, the process of online assessments, which has been followed, leaves no scope for cheating. And we felt that only 36% have agreed that it leaves no scope for cheating. So the match, what is actually telling us that? Now very soon they're going to come back to an offline exam. So if you've been conducting the entire 8 months online exams, and we are having a board exams coming in another 2-3 months, our students should be ready to appear for it. So you put the question, my confidence at attempting an offline examination has been strengthened after the online assessments. And only 34.3% agree. Strongly agrees 9.1%. So the remaining amount of percentage says, we are not ready for an offline exam. When we ask this question, I prefer online assessments to offline assessments. Now, only 44.8% said, yes, I prefer online. Now, if you notice the previous records, they said it has not more than 50% has said, not allowed me to improve my academic performances. It has given me scope of cheating. The feedback has not supported me. Then why are they wanting online assessments even more? So, again, a little contradictory here. So, the things that came across to us in the conclusion is, if the student's learning curve has risen or fallen with online assessments, how are we going to modify our approach to elevate the validity and reliability of online assessments? Because we have noticed, that sometimes a student who's performing very poorly is performing very well in the online exams. For the past 2 years, entire week, we've been conducting open house for a standard 9 to 12 standard face-to-face and talking to the students and understanding that if a child has got about 30% in offline last year, how come he's getting 60% in online? So where is the online assessments failing? So if we have to continue with online, say for the next few months, how do we improve the validity and reliability of the exams? If only 13.1% of the students felt that the feedback helped in filling the concept gap, this is strongly agreed, then how are we going to fill the concept gaps? Because when they come back to school, we are going to assume that this academic year is over. So if they're coming from 5th to 6th or 8th to 9th or 9th to 10th, we've done the 9th standard portion. We're going to continue with the 10th standard portion. So we don't have the time to go back and do an entire 9th standard portion. So then how are we going to proceed with filling in the concept gaps now? Are we going to take in more holidays? Are we going to take in all the vacations? We need to really work out a solution. So that is one of our top priority. How are we going to fill that? Now we have noticed across, I just spoke to you right now, a student scoring 6 in maths offline is now scoring 60%. What is amiss? What has really gone wrong with, it's not something the way we conducted the assessments or the validity or the mode, the online platform. Where have we gone lost? Where, lost out. Now we spoke about this online assessment leave more scope for cheating. And if 30.8% increased strongly and 36% agree, there's a lot to ponder. In fact, 13 January, just recently 2 days back, IIT said that online exams confront high-tech cheating. And if that is reality, that shows that today academic achievement is so important for the students, that report card with high marks is so important for the students, then where is the value? Where is academic honesty and values gone? So this values is another top priority of us, that we need to make the student realize, look, it's not about your marks, it's about you. So this is something that we want to really put into our case and understand that. Now, if 9.1% of students showed confidence at attempting an offline exam very strongly, then it's again a worrisome this thing. What are they lacking? Is it confidence? Do we need to work on making sure that writing is once again improved? Is our scope of online not the same as offline? And that is why, again, the varied ways of taking online exams is now, and coming back to a proper written exam of 80 mark or 100 mark is going to be, affecting them, because online offers you a lot of scope of change, different scope of assessing students. Offline, we normally have just written exams for the 9 to 12 standard. So is that going to be worrisome to them? So we need to really wonder as to what can we do for our students now. So has actually opened up lots of avenues of thinking that the top priority is, first of all, reflecting on our own selves, reflecting on our assessments. How do we fill in the concept gaps? How do we bring in our students, build up a student's confidence? How do we bring in values? And how do we make sure that the entire relation between teacher and student, that sensitive bond of, if the teacher knows that you have cheated and now you come back and say offline exam and they're going to come back and it's not going to be the same marks, then that fragile bond should not be broken. That fragile thing it's very fragile, the relationship between a teacher and a student. So that's what really concerns us, is you should not lose that respect for the child at all. So these are top priorities which we have, which is basically concerning the emotional, mental, and the academic well-being of the child. Thank you.
Perfect. Lovely start to the session, Kavita. In fact, we can't really run away from the sort of a research you did. And certainly there are a few things which are worth pondering as far as I'm sure the veracity of the entire process of evaluation, I would say, right? Where it goes for a toss, I would say there are a lot of question marks to it. And in fact, I was reading this, which I should share with all of you. And I think I did make a mention of this book, which I'm reading at present. I shared on the group as well. And where the author makes a mention that somehow it's about the attitude bit in a student. It's nothing else in life which he or she will carry. If you can really instill the right attitude in the kid at the right age in their lives, trust me, we've done every bit of learning with him. It's all about attitude at the end of the day, right? So and an attitude towards your peer, attitude ecosystem, everything. He had broken that down into attitude to the entire gamut of things which you come across in your life. So wonderful. I will share the excerpts of that reading which I have shared. But having said this, someone was sharing a quick show of hands. So let me tell you, we'll take up the questions, gentlemen, at the last. I will quickly move on to my next speaker in the sequence, which is, did I mention Sanjay ji? Were you the second one? Yeah, please go ahead, Sanjay ji. Yeah. You'll have to unmute, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kavita, thank you so much for backing with research what we already know. This magic that's happened in pandemic, it's made everybody very, very brilliant. So students who were really struggling and were not very happy are very happy with school, and so are the parents, because they are getting to attend classes for free. And that is where I would like to begin my evenings 10 minutes with you as to what are the changes that have been brought about by the pandemic, not just in context of this period, but forever. Because the examination pattern that you talked about, the learning gap that you talked about that this 1 year has caused, that is something that would be very hard to bridge. Because if you remember 11th, the students who are in 12th now were promoted on the basis of n number of examinations, and those who had failed in more than 1, 2, 3, or probably all subjects were given chances and chances till they reached class 12th. Now question is the board going to do the same with them? Because when you look at the results that came for class 12th, for those who were appearing again in terms of the supplementary compartment examinations, many of them did not make it. So board has certainly not opened its fist. They're very tight and they are going to remain this year. So board results is something that is going to be very badly affected. A, because of the way they have been promoted. B, also the amount of time you're getting to work with, because when you look at across the states, some of the states have had some opportunity to have a look at their students. Others are still shooting in the dark. The residential schools still don't know what their kids are doing. Are they looking bright by the dressing up that has been done on the online classes, or they have actually started excelling back in home, which would lead us to believe that schools don't do the job that they're supposed to do and they're better off at home, which would be a claim of every student. So I guess the first challenge is going to be how to quickly assess the gap that has occurred and cover it up in the time that you have. Now, are the sessions ready to go? Are the schools ready to go with the board's call of going up to May? Because what are you going to do with the rest of your classes? Are you going to have a session on time and start back in April for the rest of the classes? Or are you going to be a little more considerate and risk the next session by allowing a few more months of study after you open up? So that is a challenge and a call that schools will have to take, where they can take a call. Because mind you, there is no binding as to which date you teach your junior children, how long you teach them and how long you drag your session. So there's a serious debate going on in some circles whether for the rest of the classes this year, July should be the kickoff. I don't know. We can have a debate on that. I leave that to the esteemed principals to think about and talk and discuss and give their views. But that's something that we've been talking about. The other thing is how to incorporate and keep alive all the good practices that you have learned in online teaching, because a lot has gone into capacity building. When you open up, there has been a talk of an odd even formula. There are other formulas that we have heard about which have already been implemented in some of the states, and they seem to be doing well. But then the question is that when you invest so much in technology, do you just let it wither away? Because we were all brought up in a system where you needed somebody face-to-face all the time. Or are you going to give students a real choice that they can be in school, or maybe with their batch B, which is not attending on a given day, they can attend the classes at home, or maybe just do a revision with them. So that's something I'm doing. We're going to offer them both the options, and both the options, not either or, simultaneously. They want to do twice, no problems. They want to do it once face-to-face, once offline, one online, they can do it. But if they're doing it face-to-face, they can still go home and attend it with the B batch. So how do you pass on the benefits to the students is something we will have to look at. Because after having come into the online mode, it would be a terrible waste if we were not to use these resources even after we open up. So that's one thing that schools will have to think about. And universities have been doing it. The ODL mode has been talked about. They've been doing their bit. But now probably schools can start really playing around with the curriculum. Because mind you, NCERT gives you the book, CBSE gives you the curriculum, but nobody tells you how to do it. So you can really innovate and become one of its kind experiments you can do and become one of a kind in your neighborhood, where you can really share these resources with those underprivileged, or I don't know who. I mean, that's just one of my ideas, that your CSR responsibilities can go way beyond what they were so far, limited to a few village visits. Maybe you can share your lessons with people who are on long sickness, probably students. There was a student who would go on for illness and would not be able to come for a month, and you would send the copies home, and the best friends, both the mothers become best friends, so they probably copy them. So all that now can be done. So your resources, once built, now should be used for the greatest good of the greatest numbers. So that's something. Your communication with the parents and students also has changed, because mind you, so far in a classroom, the locus of control was with the teacher, and it was probably one way most of the time, admitted. But now the way teachers present themselves, what they talk, how much they communicate, all that has come under a scanner. So that now has obviously gone a bit better, but in times to come, that will have to become further good, because the expectations are great. Parents have been listening to you, they've been watching you, they've been talking to you. Now you would have to come across, and this communication does not come just in terms of your content, or maybe just your passing of messages. This is confidence building. Now that's where I bring in another topic here, that if you look at this issue of fee, that I don't know why nobody touched this whole evening. I think we're all getting politically correct. Understand that it was not so much of money. It was what was the information that was floating around social media and from the levels politicians. Because there would be a populist statement coming from one minister one day, and suddenly your parents would all go into a mode where they feel that probably, suddenly there's a wedge that has been driven between the parents and the schools. Suddenly it's become us and them. It's no more, one unit. Now that communication is very, very important. So the CBMs will have to be put into place. When a teacher says something, it has to be communicated in a manner that it inspires the confidence of the parent, that no, the communication has come from the school. This is the most authentic communication, and not what has been just, floated around casually by somebody with a vested interest causing disruption. So communication is one thing that we will have to really look at. If you look at and everybody's been talking about the curriculum framework that's come out, one thing that I liked about it was that it is talking about financial autonomy, and it's talking about that so long you have financial probity and complete transparency in terms of sharing your information out on your websites. Or so let's say a charitable foundation under which I operate would not mind doing that. So if one can really handle finances well and convince the parents, I think it is going to be working to schools' autonomy's benefit in the long run, where your financial probity is going to allow you to take much more than what you're taking today. So if you can overcome that one barrier of justifying yourself and coming out transparent, and you have the parents with you, I think that's a learning that, and then of course, learning in terms of how to use your finances, because nobody really expected fees to stop flowing for 6 months. So probably that usage will get better. Another important thing is the mental health. Months and months away from school. So it also applies to physically sitting in the classroom, but that's not going to be too long initially. So that attention span and physically sitting in a classroom should not be that big a challenge. But the mental health of the kids in the meanwhile has gone for a toss. Please understand, they haven't collaborated with each other. They haven't cooperated. They haven't met each other. There can be two things. A, you will have, and you will have to keep your eye out. I don't know what is going to be that number, but there would be a few which would have fallen through the cracks. Because in a classroom, there is a compulsory socialization that goes on. Here, some of the students may have lost that. And I have faced it on numerous occasions. Our counselors are there in all schools. We know what the pressure of academics does to kids. So in an ongoing yearly process where you have children who are always coming to school, or maybe, off and on coming to school, talking to teachers having a look at them, also sometimes develop a phobia towards examination. Now suddenly they will come to you, and a lot of them would have, believe me, not really done the job as pointed by Kavita, right? So they would have not really done their preparations for the boards or whatever. They will have a very, very compressed time limit to do it in. So that's pressure number one. And then the fear of being exposed in front of their friends. So you will have to look for the mental health, and you will have to really run them in slowly. You'll have to really gradually get them back, understand, even if you understand the kid hasn't done much and there is a big learning gap, kindly do not just put it out there. You are going to spook the hell out of them. Quietly note it, take the help of the counselor, bring them in. Don't tell them that, what have you done with your time? You have only these many months now left for your boards. What's going to happen? We will have to really look at that aspect in a big, big way. If we do not do that, you will have a few students who will simply crack. So that would have to, although I have been one, and if you listen to what I had said at one of the occasion, I think it was at the World Education Festival, where I said that don't give them a green channel. I have been always against that. I always say put a small barrier to their growth so that they strengthen and come out better. Don't just keep rewarding failure in the hope that they will succeed. But here, for the first time, I go against what I say always, that no, give them time, give them running in. They will come around. It will take time. The next and the final thing I would close with is collaborative competition. It is a paradox in itself, but then please understand you will have to collaborate a lot. So while there is competition among schools, among departments, among everybody, you will have, and something that I've taken from Phelan's definition, and he says that, collaborative competition is the yin and yang of successful change. So we will all have to do it. Gaurava is doing it this evening. I hope that we are able to do more of yin and yang. And as I said, I have changed one of my stances towards, or my policies towards the students just because of this situation. I think we will all have to learn from each other and bring these points forth. Gaurav, I hope I've done justice to my 10 minutes.
No, fantastic. Not at all. I would say a lot of food for thought. I mean, I think the aspect of fee, and I can share the experience from IPN that within one city, there was one school which was not facing a fee issue at all compared to the others. So it's been such a heterogeneous sort of environment we got to, and no two ways about it. Mental health. I keep hearing these young kids, my employees, sometimes breaking out in these times. So these are a lot of these very imperative, I think, points which you made. Thank you very much, Sanjay. Fantastic. I think not just the 10 minutes, I think we could have heard you at least for another 10 minutes more, I would say. Thank you very much. Well said. Moving on to my next guest, Mahira. Mahira, over to you. You'll have to unmute.
I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Good evening, everyone. Lovely to be here. I think, Sanjay, you really echoed some of my thoughts, which even I have. But, I work with early and elementary school children, so I'm going to share that perspective this evening. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, Maya. Yep.
So, well, I start off, by sharing our stories. Actually, we are all sailing at a time when the only constant in education, I think, is change. And I think people involved in education need to become those change agents. We can understand pedagogy inside out, but if we are unable to define why someone should do something different in their practice, all of that knowledge can be ultimately wasted. So I took a leap and I went on to do my master's in 2019 at Harvard. And when I heard they went online in 2020, it was a very sad moment to hear that kids who got in would not be on that campus. And, I was listening to Dean Bridget Long. She's the dean of Harvard when the pandemic broke out. And, she said something, and I wanted to share that because those words still resonate with me. And she said, school is hard. Being a teacher is hard. And being responsible for kids is hard. And of course, the pandemic, as Sanjay also said, has underscored too many inequities. which cannot be ignored. And I hope a time comes, she said, when educators are sharing their stories and support for each other in a way that builds community like we haven't seen before. And I hope the world has a greater appreciation for just how hard it is to educate a student, but also how important and critical investments in education are for future. So thank you, Gaurava, for the opportunity for adding that one more why, for being here today and sharing my investments and my story. So, well, I'm going to share my top 10 priorities. I think, during an adversity, I think the first thing we all do is probably shelter ourselves under a tree for something familiar. And I think when we started, we were all doing school. But I think crisis creates opportunity. And if we don't move away from this time having evolved in our practice, it will have been an opportunity wasted, an opportunity for growth. And I think it's about reflection on what needs to stay now and what needs to go, and how will we meet the needs of our learning community. And that's why I call my top 10 priorities windows of opportunity, because this is the time to go there and make the most of what we've learned. So quickly sharing, these are my top 10 priorities. They've been there even through the pandemic. And of course, there are a few things we are going to reshape, redesign. Because a new academic year, at least for early and elementary, I don't know, I think we're going to go, as Sanjay said, only in July. So it's an opportunity to reimagine, to be brave and to challenge ourselves. It's a time to reflect on our pedagogical growth. Because, with COVID-19, I think we really need to think both educationally and emotionally, what are the gaps? And how can we really fill these gaps so that they don't, in the long term? But I think one important thing we all need to know, and as schools and y'all are all leaders, is I think even when the world was uncertain, I think our visions were very clear on who we are. And every school shared their learning outcomes or know their families and are out there. And of course, there was a lot of community and connection all over the world. So I think I'm going to share something that has really worked for me. I don't know if you've heard about this model of PERMA. It's a model of well-being. And I have used PERMA today as an umbrella to share the work in progress under our priorities at school. It was coined by Martin Seligman in his book called Flourish. It's about positive psychology. It's a framework that provides evidence-based research for things in our practice that will make an impact on student well-being and achievement. So I'm going to begin with positive emotions. I think, well-being is not something that we do at school. It's something we have, right? Emotional climate impacts student learning. And I think any meaningful learning occurs only when teachers are able to connect with concepts, ideas, and skills emotionally also. So much as we're going to check for understanding, I think it's important that we check also for wellness now. So we're very keen actually to initiate a wellness committee at school. We're looking at getting student well-being ambassadors within our primary years. If we can have a primary council, of course, we can have student well-being ambassadors. And I think students they've heard so much of joy, gratitude, hope, love, and mindfulness in our classes that I think they will do a good job. I think social emotional learning is becoming relatively important. And I think we're really, really looking at now embedding this in our classroom culture in a very intentional and frequent way. And if we have to do that, I think the pandemic has hit even adults. So I think professional learning then takes an importance. We want to now plan for even adult SEL, because we realize that research also says that teachers who possess social emotional learning competencies are more likely to stay in the classroom longer, because they're able to work effectively with challenging students, and which is one of the main causes of burnout. Moving on then to E of PERMA is engagement. And, just wondering, how are we going to use and redesign our learning spaces so that we can create choice, voice, and intrinsic motivation for children? We're looking at, of course, we all look at STEM in school, but I'm really thinking of now looking at student and teacher tinker pods, really, really small groups, working, sharing and, just kind of creating things. We're going to relook at the co-curricular options at school. I think we all do, similar things. But in the lockdown, I realized kids were doing baking, gardening, there was so much more happening. So I think I'm also looking at getting those on, and maybe probably even have an entire tech club led by kids. So again, project-based learning, which was mentioned, I think, by somebody, but again, looking at a focus on the SDGs which are there. So there's a purpose. Technology stays, it's not going to go anywhere. But again, it's important to use it as a tool for learning, because remember, the main tenets is always pedagogy and engagement. Professional learning networks, let's continue to build and grow that. I think that's one of the most fantastic things that have happened in the pandemic, and reaching out to educators all over the world who've been so generous. I especially wanted to mention instructional leadership, because I think I'm very passionate about something like that. After having been in the US for a year and been on internship at schools, I think what I realized is that a lot of times principals are expected to kind of, select, manage, motivate, and evaluate the teachers, in a school so that they meet academic goals. But if you look at managing, motivating, and evaluating are typical managerial responsibilities in any field. But instructional leadership is something that is more than just finding good people and letting them go. Instructional leaders are school principals who support teachers in embracing a rapidly changing world, who kind of identify the roadblocks and build a support system for initiatives and growth. So go out there, study your spaces again, see if they need redesigning, empower your teachers to do that. And of course, I think one of the speakers mentioned innovation. That is a very important word. I think the greatest power that we leaders have in a school is that we control the narrative of the school. Now, the narrative of the school is going to be about timetables and discipline and tests, and that just percolates throughout. Adding to what kids think, it's compliance to procedures. And students think of learning as just coming to school on time. And that's what's going to happen in the pandemic, because things have changed. But instead, if the narrative now changes to learner agency, professional learning, feedback instead of evaluation, about community building and purpose, then everybody is going to start thinking about learning in a very, very different way. So really putting that focus out there. I think the next one is relationships. And I think, are we putting connection before content? And of course, we don't want to let the digital tools go away, but let's not stop personalization. But honestly, I will say that I think in some ways, technology has worked with us, and I want to continue doing that, because we've done so many parent-teacher virtual coolers. Virtual coolers were days when parents and teachers could share with us something that's, not working for them. Kind of it's a more informal way of communication. I think, often in a physical school, when parents never really made it to a workshop or never made it to a classroom, I think the virtual, world we're going to continue that. And of course, as, Sanjay ji mentioned, I think we want to continue CSR. We really want to do meaningful service projects. Something that's really worked for me, and I wanted to share it with everybody, was also collective teacher efficacy. What is collective teacher efficacy? I think collective teacher efficacy, if you see, was coined by John Hattie, and he said actually it's the perception of teachers in a school that the efforts of the faculty as a whole will have an impact on student learning. Now, if you really think about the pandemic and see, I think all of you must have felt that really stood out. But what are we really getting at when we say collective teacher? It's really looking at what is happening in our classroom with the data that we have. So, are we listening to students, their progress, their struggles, their motivation? And I think Kavita shared her research. So they need to examine student artifacts, the portfolios, the assignments, and other indicators. Because with all these, the key is making the link between teacher actions and student outcomes explicit. So the teacher understands that the factor behind student progress is within their collective sphere of influence, and that is so empowering. So I would really go there and put some money on doing training and getting teachers to do collective teacher, kind of getting that model. We go on to M, which is I believe, and I think because we do the IB, and it's a very student-centered program. Learner agency creates meaning and purpose for us. a lot in our classroom. How can we really support students to learn through authentic, relevant, and real-world contexts, where their interests, skills, and the issues and opportunities within their own communities can become the basis of their learning? So, when we talk about learner agency, again, we're looking at all learners. It's teachers, it's parents, it's students. Are they able to influence and direct their own learning? Make choices at our schools, voice their opinions, questions, because they've done this all in the pandemic. And now we need to go ahead and go on with that. So, participate and contribute to the learning community. And that's really going to help us as we go. Let's listen to all our stakeholders. And finally, of course, I think, as we all say, we all have goals. If you don't have a dream, you can't have a dream come true. So there are goals, and I think, I would put assessment, and I think Kavita spoke about them. I think in the PYP, of course, we do varied assessments, but yeah, we are moving slowly from consumption to creation to curation, with our kids, moving from instruction with testing practices to aligning assessments with learning instruction. And I think that's something that has really worked, in the pandemic, even with high school. And as we think about return on investment, what qualitative and quantitative data do we really have? Are we really collecting artifacts that show evidence that assessments are changing? And Kavita showed that practices are changing, projects are changing. So I think, again, who owns the data in your school? Is it just the principal? Do you have a data team? And, start doing these conversations about data, because the data that we now have from the pandemic is really going to help us plan ahead. And of course, we want to connect, extend, and challenge our usage of technology. If technology is just going to be a data bank for worksheets, then that's really, you're not getting anywhere. So I think we're really educating a Netflix generation of children now. These children have everything on demand, anytime, anywhere. They're going to come back to school. So we need to be ready with that and try and use technology effectively and integrate that with our lessons. And of course, lastly, re-envision teacher potential. I think I'm moving now into, lead learners at school and making committees who'd like to work with lead learners. So, making things very transparent, because I think that really worked in the pandemic. It's worked before, even in a physical space, but I think the pandemic got all of us very, very close. I'm going to end with a question for everybody and share something that I really has stuck with me, is what culture are you creating in your school? I'm going to share, this is a letter that Apple sends out to its employees, and it says there's work and there's your life's work. The kind of work that has your fingerprints all over it. The kind of work that you'd never compromise on, that you'd sacrifice a weekend for. You can do that kind of work at Apple. People don't come here to play safe. They come here to swim in the deep end. They want their work to add up to something big, something that could happen anywhere else. Welcome to Apple. So yes, simple but effective. My takeaway from this is that our jobs are not about a title or a paycheck or a daily routine. It's about creating. It's about making a difference. Do you find yourself as leaders doing that kind of work? If not, what needs to change? If you're a leader, are you creating that culture where the people in your circle feel as though they're doing something which is adding up to something? Do you need to really tune up your leadership style? And of course, there are questions we should ask ourselves as we swim out of the pandemic. You can make a difference. You can do something special. You can change the world, and you don't need to work at Apple for that. We can work at our own institutions and create that change. So thank you everyone for your time and listening to my story. Thank you, Gaurava.
Well, thank you very much, Mahira. Well, fantastic. In fact, as I said, every bit of it will stay with us. And in fact, especially the culture bit for me is absolutely an imperative. I mean, you develop cultures. I mean, our leaders develop cultures. Otherwise, there is no other role they perform in an organization for that matter. And fantastic. Thank you very much. So much to speak about it. But having said this, paucity of time, have to jump to a few other things. All right. Dr. Geoffrey, over to you, sir. Is the head of institution, in fact, head of school at the BD Somani school in Mumbai. Over to you.
Hi. my presentation is not going to be presented because it would be very boring to recover so much ground. So if you don't mind, I'm going to be a little bit extemporaneous and talk a little bit off the cuff. I'm a fan of a comedian called David Letterman, who I'm sure you've heard of, and he recently spent an hour, did an hour's show in the company of Shah Rukh Khan. And his one of the things that he mentioned was some of his famous 10 things which he used to do in his show, and one of them was the 10 famous last words, and one of them was, "Oh, watch out, there's lightning, everybody under the tree." And this was a famous last word. Well, I've got another famous last word, which is, "Watch out, you're the last speaker for an IPN afternoon." You know, so if I get a little bit boring, please let me know.
We still have you the second last one, don't worry.
It's even worse. The next one can't speak extemporaneously and can't use my joke. So that will be...
Don't worry, I've got one to conclude. Don't worry.
Okay. I think, you know, we've had 3, I think, really powerful presentations, and I don't wish to recover those areas, but maybe I can pick 3 things out of that huge environment of things that we need to look at. I did my doctorate on school effectiveness and school improvement. And in that area, the one thing that all research all the time shows as being impactful on student outcomes is the quality of the teacher in the classroom. And so what I think our challenge is over the next 6 months, 12 months, it's always a challenge, but the particular challenge of the next 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be, is going to be the health, the wellness, the training, the sense of community, and the sense of commitment that we can engender in our staff. Because it's only once we've been successful in that you get the engagement, the variation of assessment, the commitment to the students, all of the other things that you're looking for. So one of our focuses is going to be how to ensure a return to face-to-face teaching, which is safe, which is engaging, which allows the staff a sense of agency. We've heard about student agency. We need to also have faculty agency, if you like, in terms of determining how best to go forward. So that's one particular area where we'll be focusing. The second area, which has not really been mentioned up to now, but I think is important for us all, is a sense of reflection and learning as an institution. So that how are we going to, will we ever do parent-teacher meetings face-to-face again? I don't think so. So much nicer to do them online. You don't have a queue, you don't have people listening in on what you're saying, you are able to have both of you there. So there will be some things that we learn which have been better because of this pandemic. Many things, I suspect. And so my second thing is to force us as an organization to take some time to reflect, to think, to actually articulate what we think has been better for us. I would say that our teachers' assessment skills are very much better than they used to because of the challenge of engaging students through assessment while doing it online. So there are some powerful things that we need to learn. My third thing, and we haven't mentioned it, I think I'm the first person to mention this, is ourselves. You know, the challenge, I think, of being a school leader means that you're self-sacrificial, that you sacrifice your time, your family, your intellectual prowess, you give up your capacity to do, you know, you don't have any hobbies anymore, you just work. And I think we need to ensure that we as individuals are able to build on our experience, and building on that experience demands that we are around for a significant period of time in our schools, not just being there for short periods of time. And in that demand, we have to ensure that we ourselves are not only healthy, but also learners and also people who will take the time to look after our families, to look after ourselves, to be ongoing learners, to look at our own professional development. We're all fantastic about organising professional development for our faculty. How much do we do for ourselves? And how do we relate to all of that? So I'm not going to take my 10 minutes. I am really grateful because it's been, I think, a wonderful afternoon and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. But I would encourage you then to look at your faculty and how you can maintain their health and their engagement and their sense of wellness and all of those sorts of things. How do you become, as an organisation, a learning organisation out of this pandemic? How do we capture all of that learning and make sure that we act on it through our planning, through our protocols, through our procedures, etc., etc. And how do we look after ourselves in all of this very challenging set of things? I'm rather hoping that the Prime Minister will decide that immediately after frontline teachers, frontline workers and emergency workers, the next group of people who should get this vaccine are the teachers. Because if we vaccinate all the teachers, then we can have all of the kids back to school all of the time. And, you know, do these kids need to be back at school? Boy, do they really need to be back at school, you know, the whatever else has happened. So thank you, sir. Next time I come on to one of these things, please put me first.
No, so Dr. Absolutely. In fact, it resonates so well that, and I can share that from my own personal experience, I was really taking my physical health or my health for granted. I mean, I thought I was that young, late 30s or whatever you call it, and suddenly I was not taking care. And what at least the last 6 months to 7 months taught me was that, I mean, health is everything. Trust me. I mean, mental and you're not fit. That doesn't really work, right? So having said this, well-made point, and I personally feel we sometimes take it for granted that our own personal well-being may not have an impact. It has a huge impact. Thank you. And certainly, whenever we have you next time, you'll go first. Don't worry. That's my promise to you. Yes. Kamaljeet Yadav ji, over to you, ma'am. Kamaljeet, ma'am, is the principal of Subodh Public School in Jaipur. Over to you, please.
Gaurav, you need to excuse me. There is some emergency. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Some issue? Okay, never mind.
It's okay, but
and
thank you.
Please take care. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Gaurav, one of the ideas, can you hear me? Yeah.
Sure, please.
One of the ideas that we have floated around here and spoken about to the district administration has been about, the use of having schools on. Because when you say that you need to administer it to the kids, where do you collect the kids? That's one place where you have kids. Correct. And when you choose schools for all kind of drops and inoculations, correct, why not for COVID?
Correct.
So that has been taken very seriously. Okay. And I'm hopeful that what Geoffrey was talking about, that the teachers get it. I hope that better sense will prevail and schools will get it. So students as well as teachers, the mechanism is placed. Government has been using this platform for a number of years. Kindly use it for COVID. So it's something that's already been taken in.
Correct.
And as far as Kamal ma'am is concerned, I think, Geoffrey, I promised you a joke. So I'll give that away, that there was a time when the Christians were thrown to the lions in the Roman times. So Christian after Christian was had by the lion, till finally this evangelist reaches there and, gestures the lion to come and whispers something in the ear, and the lion cows away and simply goes. So there's that, "Holy Christian, what did you tell him?" He said, "Well, I just told him that you can have me if you want to, but you'll have to give an after dinner speech." So I think she didn't want to give an after dinner speech.
Okay, so we'll take up the questions. We'll open the house for Q&A, and I'm sure we must be having few questions to get answered. And not just the question, I'll be more than happy if you have an observation to share coming out of today's conversation. Let's listen in to each one of you as well. Okay. Putting this on the gallery view so that we can see if there's anyone having a question which you cannot put on a virtual show of hand. Okay, Rajesh ji wants to say something. Over to you, Rajesh ji.
Yeah, Gaurav, it was fantastic, to get perspective from different schools all over India. And the best part is, I think, the kind of survey, the data analysis which Kavita ma'am put it was, I think, very, very apt, having 600 plus students to be surveyed. And that gave it perspective on one ground. But maybe personally, the data which has come, the practical aspect was especially in my area or in Bhopal, is a bit different, because many children, they agreed that online assessment is not very, very realistic to the level which survey says. That's all I wanted to convey, Kavita ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I agree. I agree. And I say the same thing, that it is not authentic. That is what I spoke about, that even the IIT said that people have been taking the student teacher school for a ride. So that's true.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you for your question. In fact, yes. We'll keep asking. I mean, please feel free to ask or make an observation, and any form which you believe will add in today's conversation, so they should add any value. Please feel free, right? So, and if we do not have, then possibly we'll say bye-bye to every one of you in that case, because right. Any other observation? Any other question? More than happy to listen in.
Gaurav ji, I just wanted to put my sincere thanks to all the speakers today. Exceptional speakers. In fact, I have been to many webinars, and this is going to stay with me for a long time, I can assure you. Okay, the kind of statistics you talk about, the kind of ideas and thoughts you put across. Absolutely. And it is everyone, all the speakers.
And actually, I should say that, because I would have anyways said this, but then I would have been a little more biased, because this is my session in a way. But having said this, I think Mahira adds a great dimension. Kavita obviously is fabulous with her numbers and sort of research she brings in.
But I'll still add, it's true that we all are worried about the learning gaps. But I, being a very positive person, I have been already spoke this in one of the webinars at IPN and other places also, that let us not miss out on the learnings kids have had. Please understand, they've learned to face a pandemic. We are bothered about their examinations, few portions which we couldn't do. I really do not like it altogether, because I never thought we are schools for doing portions. We have to make them learn for life. And the biggest learning which can happen, it never happened in any of the universities in India and abroad. Even Harvard has not done a course on pandemic facing by anybody. Let us not please highlight this. I feel very proud of myself as a teacher, as a parent, as a colleague, as a neighbor, everybody. Hey, we survived. I haven't found many of my children mentally disturbed at all. I tell you that they are very favorite topic of speak of people. I'm sorry. I've been a boarding school principal. I know it's very, very minimal. I'm worried about remaining 99% kids who are all good and fine. Let us not spend our too much of energy on that 1%. Yeah. I'm not ignoring them, but let us not lose out 99% people who are fit and fine and look forward for the things. Let us appreciate them. The only thing which I have heard and I thought, let's appreciate everybody around. Let us not count this as a year of loss, my dear. We have learned which we could have never learned in our lifetimes. And kids have learned at the age of 13, 14, 15. We should be proud of them. They are all set for life.
That we are.
These small exams will come and go. What is great in it? I have taught them. I always thought we are teaching them for life. 1, 2, 3, 4 months makes no difference altogether. Because they've learned much more, which we are rather, because they won't go on to mark sheets. Forget it. Mark sheet of no use, we know very well. Whole NP has come, NEP has come for that. This is what I thought.
No, well said.
Well,
Geoffrey, you were saying something? Yeah.
I think this was a live case study. I don't think we'll need.
Very true. Very true. Biggest case study. Lakhs of people involved. Millions of them. What is great.
Exactly, Dr. Khare, we had really done this research, not just to that, but to understand even how, when we come back, how to see the emotional and the value system of the students also. So we are proud of our students, but we also need to know our short. At the same time, Gaurav, I would like if other principals also took up the research, because then it will become a research which is backed by principals across the country.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the major key takeaways for at least me as well was that you did such a wonderful job with the research, because it has to be backed by, I mean, consensus, not just a couple of people saying the same thing.
Yeah, Gaurava, what you could do is you could have the the model that was used by Kavita and share it with others, just for the sake of uniformity, not to take her hard work away, but just do the same so that everybody's measuring them on same parameters, and just that your sample size grows across the board, and we have pan-India. I mean,
surely. I already have the Google form, so I will share it with.
Yeah, that would be great. Let's see how you get data from different regions and how it adds up.
Precisely. We can do that, in fact. Yeah. Yep. Dr. Geoffrey, you were saying something?
I just wanted to add that when it comes to learning, I'd like to thank you, because I think the IPN is a shining example of community learning, community support, professional togetherness. I have to say, I do get a little bit bored with being wished happy Sankranti about 1,000 times, but you know, my WhatsApp inbox fills up in no time at all. But I really have valued being a member of this organisation in the lead up to this through this pandemic. So to you, thank you very much indeed.
Also kind of you to say that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
But I have to go, I'm afraid. I have a 6:30.
Please take it.
Oh, we all got to go.
All right.
Please take. Yeah. One quick question with JK Agarwalji. Your question, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening to the panel. It was really wonderful listening to you all. And I don't have question, but since you have invited that, okay, you can comment on also. So while listening, Mr. Geoffrey, I really, it was a great solution that sometimes when you fail to meet your parents, it was difficult. But now, yeah, of course, from pandemic, we have got an idea that we can meet them online, even face to face.
Fantastic. And I think you are walking, so take care of your health. Good. You are investing in your health. Take care. Bye. Yeah, take care. Okay, good. So thank you very much. Thank you in fact, let's call it a day. And I must say thank you to each of my panelists. Kamaljeet ji could not be with us for some reasons, and I hope everything is fine. Having said this, thank you, Mahira. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Geoffrey.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Gaurav ji, for involving us all in the evening. Wonderful interaction, Kavita ji.
Thank you.
I was so happy, Mr. Khare. Everybody was amazing. Thank you for making my evening.
Thank you, Kavita.
I was driving, but I was there with my phone on, so I can hear what all our IPN is discussing. Thank you.
Last but not the least, thank you, Kavita. Thank you. I was about to complete that at best. So thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Mahira. Thank you, Geoffrey ji. Thank you, Sanjay ji. Hope to see you guys soon and look forward to working with you on a very regular basis. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And say Army Day, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, yes.
Jai Hind, Sanjay.